Welcome aboard to podcast number 11 in the series of the Voyage to back Yonder. In the last episode, we talked about the wreckage of expectations that stand between our ship sitting at the pier and the open sea. Well, today we'll look at plotting our way through this obstacle course. We see the remnants of the situations in our lives that left uncomfortable emotions behind in those waters offshore. Each time we had an expectation that was not met in our lives, it created a ping of disappointment in our heart. And depending on where we were at in our minds at that point in our lives, determined how much of an impact the situation made on us. For a 2-year-old, dropping their ice cream cone into the dirt, or a dog running off with your sandwich after snipping it from your hand, that could have felt like a life-altering moment. But go 15 years later, that person we were attracted to, choosing to be with someone else, could have felt like someone ripping our heart out of our chest. 20 years after that, someone close to us passing away could bring a flood of terror into us. And as we think about maneuvering through these waters of disappointment, we fear running into those emotions again and re-experiencing all those uncomfortable feelings. The impact of all these things in our lives is rooted in our belief about what these things should mean in our lives. Many of our beliefs about things are echoes that have been carried on generation after generation, and we don't have a clear remembrance of choosing them ourselves, except for the fact that we blindly carry them on to the next generation because that is how it's always been. And that in itself is a choice. The other beliefs we have about the supposed to be come from our own interpretation and perceptions of our lives that are newly created throughout our lives from birth. And those are influenced by external forces like movies and books and TV, songs, teachers, preachers, friends and family, etc., etc., etc. We sit at the edge of a stream watching as all these thoughts pass by us. And we're taught to grab every thought out of that stream. And we grab a thought, and depending on what type of thought it is, it will cause a feeling in us. And there are two types of thoughts. One is either a thought of unconditional love, which is comfortable and enriching, expanding and royal, or it's a conditional love thought, which feels uncomfortable, lessening, shrinking, degrading, and is full of fear. When we grab a thought of unconditional love, we feel loved and mighty. But when we grab a thought of conditional love, we feel fear and smallness. And these feelings, whichever they are, then trigger a response or a reaction in us. So we pick up a thought, and it causes feelings. We can react with our previous conditioning and experience what we normally experience. And there's nothing wrong with that. We come here to experience, and when we are done experiencing that emotion, then we will make a different choice. We will choose to respond instead. Where a reaction is an uncontrolled emotional action, a response is a choice that is made with a calm mind. Well, calmer mind. Wherever we invest our emotional energy is what will expand and activate. If we choose to be upset, hurt, disappointed, angry, sad, etc., those emotions will activate within us and we will get to feel them. Then we're left with the choice of how that emotion will be expressed externally, or if we will express it externally at all. We might try to get others to invest their energy into our party of uncomfortable emotions by sharing a heavy sigh in person or on Facebook. We might plop ourselves down in the middle of the living room in front of everyone and throw a tantrum. Or we might just subtly slam things around until someone finally asks us what's wrong. Or we can sit with that feeling that comes from picking up that thought and question the belief that surrounds that thought. We can attempt to get to the root of why we feel that way about the situation or the person or ourselves. And as we do that, the fog around the belief clears and we see it for the story that it is, the made-up story. Through my other series of podcasts, we have been able to discover our inner master. And we know we are more than these characters that we play here. We remember that we are powerful, supernatural, eternal spirit beings made from unconditional love. Observing the fear and darkness of conditional love allows us to sit there with those thoughts and compare it against our true brightness. And then we see that contrast. We can see that it is beautiful. And that can be our new choice. As these thoughts float by, if we choose to pick them up, we can also choose to see them as beautiful and transform them from uncomfortable emotions to emotions full of unconditional love. We can let them be what they are and not have them rip a hole in the hull of our ship. We also develop the ability to just watch the thought as it floats by without picking it up. We can make a kind of wave of acknowledgement to the thought as it floats on by like a float in a parade. We can admire, its purpose it had in our lives without bringing it back in to our emotional body. Today, we can begin being our own voice of influence of our beliefs more than ever by questioning our beliefs about ourselves, about our beliefs of others, about our beliefs about life. We have the power to change our lives, and in that, change our world. Unconditional love is our natural state. We're taught to fear the imaginary stories. And if we're tired of fearing, we can regain the presence of unconditional love in our lives. We can begin with gratefulness. And then we can question the fears to see them for the lies that they are. For what the inhabitants of this world search for is love, sweet love. But no one can love us more accurately than we can love ourselves unconditionally. Let me say that again. No one can love us more accurately than we can love our own selves. every moment is of unconditional love or the fear of losing conditional love. If we aren't loving ourselves unconditionally in this moment, then we are in the conditional world of fear. But what's great is that this awareness helps us understand why we feel confused. Because when we're in fight or flight mode of fear, that is how our brain functions. It floods our minds with confusion so we don't get caught up into thinking too much and forget to fight or run. That's survival. Calming ourselves and questioning our beliefs allows us to regain understanding. And in that moment, the fearful beliefs start letting go of us. We stop surviving and we start living. Next episode, we'll contemplate the long voyage ahead before we depart out of port. Till then, think about how you can try to calm yourself as you wake up in the morning, as you go throughout your day and before you go to sleep. Deep breathing has been helpful for me. Calming scents are awesome, like essential oils and incense, candles, whatever brings peace to your mind. Maybe it's your dad's ancient aftershave or the smell of his cigars. Maybe it's your mother's perfume. Or maybe certain music calms the beast within you. Find out what works for you. And then once you find your calm, then question your beliefs. Why do I believe what I believe about this and that? You will see your moment transform. Enjoy your voyage. I love you.